What is going on, everybody? So today we're going to be talking about EB-01 and EB-02 because EB-02, in my opinion, is one of the best investments you can make right now. And we've seen since release, this box has been incredibly resilient. Obviously, out the gate on TCG Player, this was like a $230 box, and that was before the box even released, which makes sense because TCG Player only allows like brick and mortar stores to list their boxes for pre-order, and pre-order prices really aren't an accurate representation of what the box is going to go for because at release, if people can find it cheaper, they can just cancel their TCG Player orders. And once you have other people listing their boxes, the box price normally comes down almost always. So going forward though, still in that 170, 175 range, I'd say that's pretty solid out the gate. And you can see over the past week, I mean, June 19th, this was around $170 on TCG Player. We never really saw EB-02 below $170 on TCG Player. We're now up to around, the graph's not working here. We're now up to around $176-ish. And most recent sales are right there in that 176 range. There are a couple sellers moving boxes at that price. And I do think that we need to compare it to EB-01 because EB-01 was an interesting case study where the box wasn't super popular out the gate, but there's lots of popular characters in it and playable cards, right? So the Chopper's on a super playable one. I don't think anymore. You can kind of see here, this was like a $37 card not too long ago. We're now down to around $17. So I think it's fallen out of the meta a little bit. Again, you guys who play the TCG, let me know in the comments down below if I'm off base on anything. I think Shirahoshi, you still need this card. It's around $17, $18 for the base super rare. The Cavendish is still around $33, $35 in that range. Bond Clay, this one's fallen off a little bit. This is a secret rare in the set, and it's $48 currently. You can see about a month ago, this was a $70 card, now back to $48-ish. And again, the meta's always changing, so that's kind of why a lot of these cards do fluctuate in price. You can see the alt art hasn't taken as big of a hit. This was up to around $178, now sitting around $160, with recent sales closer to $140 realistically. That's where it's at. And outside of these playable cards, there aren't any crazy hits. I mean, the Chopper manga we'll talk about here in a little bit, but outside of that, there's not any huge popular character. I know I've said before, the Bond Clay, I understand Bond Clay, who he is, Mr. 2. It's still a Nami card, right? So people who collect Nami cards in the future are probably going to want this card. Let's be realistic. It really doesn't matter who the character's name is and if they're just taking on Nami's face and body in the photo. It's a Nami card for all intents and purposes for collectors. So in the future, I think that card will have some value, the Chopper manga. But outside of that, like, there really isn't anything crazy. I mean, a lot of these just are there because they're playable cards. I mean, Laboon, not a popular character. Cavendish, not really popular. Shirahoshi. I mean, some of these like have some level of clout to it, but when we compare EB-01 to EB-02, and this is the secret rare of Luffy, which we'll get to in a second, like there are a lot more popular characters in my opinion when we look at the list of EB-02. Obviously, the Luffy manga up top, Gear 2, I think I pulled this card up over here somewhere. Still holding around $1,100. Very popular. Boa Hancock, for obvious reasons, is also a very popular character in the series. You have a Luffy alt art leader. And then the Vegapunk card. I mean, Vegapunk's not really the most popular character, but because this is an error card, it is always going to be expensive. It's still selling around $300, $330. I looked on eBay. The most recent sales I can find are these ones from June 13th and 11th. And this was in Australia and this was in the UK, but around $430 Canadian, that's like what, $330-ish USD, $320 USD, something like that. So it is still a very expensive card. And outside of those, I mean, some of these leaders aren't super popular, but you still have Yamato, you have Reiju, you have Jewelry Bonnie. I think these leaders are probably just a bit more popular than some of the characters in EB-01. Charlotte Pudding, you have a Luffy card, Uta. So some of these are just a little bit more special in my opinion. You can see here, I mean, I understand the prices of these are coming down slightly over time as more of this product is open and comes out onto the market, but these are still very expensive cards. I mean, the entire first page, all the cards are over $100, and I think there's a couple cards on the second page over $100 too. Whereas when you look at EB-01, you have the Chopper manga up top, $800. That's still cheaper than the Luffy manga Gear 2. You have the Bond Clay over $100, and then it drops right down to the Cavendish Alt Art, which is $65. And outside of that, just nothing crazy. Bottom of first page, you already have cards at $7.50. And EB-02 has some cards that have value because they're playable as well. I mean, some of these leader cards probably have some utility in the game, and there are lots of cheaper cards also. The secret rare in the set is about $80-ish right now, this Luffy card. I actually pulled this. I've opened, I think, 3 boxes at this point of EB-02. I was chasing that Luffy. I ended up pulling the Nami alt, which I really liked. That was one of my chase cards. And then this secret rare Luffy and a couple other hits, but nothing too crazy. Either way, I am going to be selling this because, I mean, it's $80 for a secret rare. And we've already talked about this. I think cards like the secret rares, like the super rares, they should be cheap. Players should be able to access them because, I mean, some of these super rares in EB-02, not as ridiculous as EB-01, but still the Sanji and Pudding cards around $15, $16 USD. The Sengoku's like $8-ish. I pulled a couple of these. The Enels, $7, $8 also. So some of these cards do have value, and if players want to make decks and they need 3 or 4 of them, I mean, if you needed the secret rare Luffy, if you needed more than one, like you're already up $160, $240 if you need 3 of them. Like that's very expensive. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like one of the top decks right now has this Luffy in there, and you need like 3 or 5 of them. So it's very costly to build that playable deck, and some people are building cheaper options, I think, with the Sanji and Pudding card, or one of just the Pudding cards. I can't remember exactly which one it was. I'm not super deep into the TCG, guys. Again, I invest for the long term. I look for collectability. And all of this aside, right, because we are kind of doing a comparison about some of these playable cards, and I think that's great that EB-02 has some of these playable cards, which brings up the value in the short term. It means that people that need these cards for their deck, they're either going to have to buy them online or actually open boxes, which is great. I love seeing people open boxes. But long term, when I compared this list of cards to EB-01, EB-02 is just miles ahead in terms of popularity of the characters, in terms of the top chase card, in terms of overall value. And we do need to give a little bit of props to the Chopper manga, because I mean, this card's been performing fairly well over the past couple months. You can see here, back in March, it was around $700. Most recent sales, June 8th was the most recent sale on TCG Player, $850. Before that, another $850, another $850. So for all intents and purposes, this is well over $800 at this point. Maybe this card will reach $1,000 one day. I mean, Chopper is a fairly popular character, not the most popular, but is still up there. I really am a huge fan, and I think it's unlikely we see another Chopper manga, so this is probably going to be the chase card for Chopper collectors in the future. With that said, it still just does not come close to the Gear 2 Luffy manga. I mean, this card is great, and there really isn't much more to say about that. I think the final thing we should touch on in this video, though, is just to have a conversation about potential reprints, because it seems like we've got restocks of OP-05, PRB-01 at some of these Bandai stores. EB-02 is going to be a little bit of a different story, right? Because EB-01, maybe we've had small restocks of that, but it doesn't seem like we've gotten a reprint ever of that box. Bandai doesn't really like to reprint their premium boosters and their extra boosters. We haven't seen that yet. Again, that could change. EB-02, though, the one thing that makes me question whether they'll reprint it is the Vegapunk error card. I could see it going both ways, where they do want to reprint it, they do want to put out a proper copy of this card, but I also could see where if they're trying to play catch up, they want to do the simultaneous releases next year. It's just not going to be a top priority for them to go back and reprint EB-02 again. So if you want to buy this set and you're looking at boxes around $170 USD, yeah, I mean, I think it's a decent entry point. I didn't buy too far off of that. I know a lot of you guys live near Bandai stores. You can get this box much cheaper near MSRP. I know a lot of you guys in Europe can get the box cheaper. You don't have to comment that in every video. If you can get it cheaper, again, like that's awesome. I'm actually happy for you. That's great. You get to build positions with much lower entry points, and that should only magnify what I say in this video. Because if I believe something's a good buy around $175, $200, then if it's $100, $125, then in my opinion, it's kind of a no-brainer. And I understand the markets are different, but I base my opinions on what fundamentally makes a good investment in TCGs. And for me, that is expensive cards, a solid chase card, and then some level of factor into the scarcity or potential future scarcity of a box. So for EB-01, We haven't got a reprint. It's fairly scarce. There's not a ton out there on the secondary market. EB-02, if they don't reprint it, boxes are eventually going to dry up and you're going to see the price rise. But you guys let me know in the comments down below what you think. Also, one more thing I should say is that we should keep an eye on PRB-02 and the cards coming out in that set, because I would hope that a lot of cards from EB-01 and some of these other sets that are expensive super rares, expensive event cards, whatever it is, I would hope they do reprint those cards, the prices of those come down, and at that point we should take a look at EB-01 and some of these other sets just to see what happens to the box price. I've said multiple times, long term, that sort of thing is not going to matter, but in the short term, it could affect the box price, and that could actually give you a decent entry point if you're looking to buy some boxes. Speaking of buying boxes, if you are buying on eBay, TCG Player, Hobbiesville, Cardboard Hero, I have affiliate links down below, free and easy to use. I get a small kickback, easy way to support the channel. Also, One Piece booster box update is going to be coming tomorrow in the spreadsheet, and we might discuss it on the channel as well. Thank you so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.